Well, if you clicked on this, obviously with OP-01 official release around the corner, or if it's already released by the time you watch this, you kind of want to get a feel for what it is that's going to be good and or bad in the first upcoming set. So just like in Allstate, you're in good hands. Hey crew, or if we haven't met yet, just Zay here, and with the official OP-01 release officially around the corner, I wanted to go over deck list of each leader that's going to be available, and to go over what's going to top the tier list, and what's going to have to wait its turn. Now these deck lists that I'm about to show you will be from people who've already been able to play OP-01 across the globe, and have actually won tournaments or participated in tournaments and have gotten to top 32, top 16, top 4, so on and so forth. So you'll know that these are coming from valid competitive builds that have actually competed and won something. I do know that this is not a deck discussion video, but more so just my review and thoughts on people and what they're running in OP-01 across the globe when it was released. Things that will more so just get your brain flowing on what to see and what you kind of want to look for, and just kind of build and get your thoughts going with things that are going on. Now the great news is across all leaders, they all have the capability to win, and that's just really, really great. That shows a healthy meta as far as what people may be thinking if they're on the fence on whether or not I should play, because everybody might go for one specific leader or just go for the almighty winning deck list and stuff like that. This is more so to show that everything's possible to win, anything's possible to compete, and as of right now, you know, really it's pretty even across the board. And I think, yeah, you'll see more people picking one leader more so than the other just because it's maybe simpler or easier to play with that. But honestly, if you practice with one deck and solely just that one deck, and you know the ins and outs of it so much so, you're highly capable of winning just as much as anybody else. So definitely do know that not one deck wins everything. Now, if you find this video helpful in any way, or you feel as though you want to keep up to date with any One Piece TCG content creating coming from myself, then by all means, hit that like down below and hit the sub for love. We would greatly appreciate you to join the crew, and I definitely love all your feedback and everything that y'all have given thus far, so go ahead and keep that going. Now, with all that out the way, let's go ahead and get into these deck lists, and then let's go ahead and go to the tier list to follows, so I can give you my views on what I think is going to compete and what I think is going to just have to wait a little bit longer. So starting off the gate, we're going to talk about my boy Cena winning with Zoro. Super proud of him and hype for him. I actually remember playing against him when he was testing out this deck in its early stages, and man, it definitely is a really good competitive deck if you want to kind of get quick games going and more so get in the win early rather than later. It's really good. It has the Ultimas and the Jet Pistol combo. Ultima is going to minus 2k a character, so if you're going against that 8 cost kid, which is going to be super problematic for a lot of people, you can use Ultima to get it down to 6k, hit that Jet Pistol to go ahead and get rid of it. Then you have the Nami Searchers and the Dawn Recyclers. You have your Beepo to kind of get rid of the low cost cards that are very problematic in our searchers and our blockers. Then you have a lot of rush capability cards, so you can go ahead and use your Namis to recycle and give them to your leader Zoro to boost all your characters, or to just give to other characters to boost them up themselves, like that character Zoro, which when given a Dawn, it go ahead and gives him a 1k as well. So really, this is a really good deck as far as breaking down the capabilities of rush with a lot of characters like Sanji and so on and so forth. It's going to be really good, and I think if you're going to run a Zoro deck, this is really highly competitive, honestly, and I think it's really great. And as you can see, he went against Doflamingo, he went against another Zoro which only ran vanillas, which is another way that you can go about running this build, and Kaido and Luffy. So I mean, honestly, he went against a lot of good competitives, and super proud of him when he won this. Now we're going to go into Uda. If you didn't know, actually, yes, you're going to be receiving the Uda cards from the tournaments if you participate in the December tournaments. So I'm super hyped to see that, especially with when film came out and people weren't receiving the film decks. It's kind of a bummer, but to see that at least we're given some capability of Uda early in OP-01, I think that's super great. So I think this is actually a super solid build, and honestly, congratulations to Mr. Akita, who won all the matches at the networking event. I think this was a really good build, honestly. You have your Ultimas, your Nami Recyclers, which are just going to be definites in a lot of builds. You have your jet pistols, you have your shanks, which is a huge drop in this deck because Uda's ability is essentially to boost up all vanillas. So you're going to see a lot of vanillas in this deck. And I mean, in this build particularly, you don't see them as much, but for example, to have your 4 cost 6k Luffy or Usopp's dad sitting at 6 cost 8k, I mean, this is really good, honestly. And I mean, obviously they did really well in their tournament. Now we're going to go into one of my personal favorites, if you don't already know, and that's going to be Red Green Law. Red Green Law ability is essentially if you have 5 characters on board, you can switch out one color for the opposite color of a 5 or less by paying Don. So super good as far as combo consistency. You see the Momonosuke, you see the Bonnie. I think that's a really good package that's capable. You can also run the Straw Hats in Supernova package, which is a lot more consistent because they're searchable both means. But this is really good as well. You have the Okiku that gets rid of cards when attacking. You have the vanilla 1 cost. You have a lot of 1 cost in this deck, and that's going to be something that you're going to see very big because you want to get as many characters out in one go because your opponent knows that you're going to try to swarm the board and they're going to try to get rid of everything as much as possible. So really this is super consistent. You even have the Law that switches out when played. You also have the one that restands. You have the Luffy to rush. This is solid, and honestly, obviously they won. The winner was Kazuha, who used it, and man, phenomenal. Congrats to you for sure, because this was really solid. Now this is a deck profile that I was able to see for a red green Luffy. I think this is going to be highly slept on. A lot of people may not like this one in comparison to Law, obviously because Law is more freedom and combo compatible, but definitely red green Luffy is also a high contender for sure. This is a super solid build. You're going to see the Zoros, which is a given because that on play has rush. You're seeing your beige and your Tonys for blocks, your Namis and Bonnies to search. Paradise Waterfall, which I really like as a card because essentially it's a 1 cost 2k counter and you get to restand characters. So if someone wants to attack, let's say your leader rather than your rested searcher or whatever the case may be, you can definitely utilize that to your advantage by restanding that card. And I think one thing that's very unique about this build is that they have Round Table, which is that 4 cost main event that gives one of your opponent's characters minus 10,000 during this turn. I think that's really good, and a lot of people sleep on that. That's going to be very much a good card to get rid of 10 drop Kaidos or everything under the sun that's super problematic for sure. And then also running that Gum Red Hawk, which gives your leader up to one of your characters 4,000 during the battle, and then you get to KO one of your opponent's characters with 4k or less. So that's also good. And it has that trigger to give one of your opponent's characters minus 10,000 as well. And a lot of people sleep on it for sure. So yeah, this one's a really super dope build, and I think it's going to be a highly slept on leader, especially in OP-01, because in OP-02 it got a lot of support. But in OP-01, we have Oden. Oden is really solid as far as a character. You're going to trash a Wano type card from your hand to restand 2 Dawn to make them active again. I didn't really expect to see the Heart Pirates 3 cost character in there. You're going to normally not see a lot of people running anything outside of Wano in Oden builds just so they can utilize the effect of their leader more so much. But I mean, hey, they were able to win in the game exchange meeting. The winner was Tito's Kazuki Oden. You're going to see the Scratch Man for your 2k counters. The Bonnie and Beige are just a given. Momonosuke for sure because, I mean, this is a Wano type deck. Why not use it? That 8 cost kit is going to be super problematic. That has the activate main effect once per turn to play a 3 or less from your hand. But then it also has, which is the more utilized effect of giving a Dawn, and on your opponent's turn, if that character is rested, which the activate main ability does that, then essentially your opponent cannot attack any other card except that 8 cost kid. Now, a really good deck that I think a lot of people will catch on to for sure is going to be Doflamingo. Doflamingo has that ability of when attacking with 2 Dawn attached and then you paying a Dawn, you reveal the top card of your deck, and then if it's a 7 Warlords that's 4 or less, you get to play it for free rested. Why is that really good? Because if you run, like in this build, a whole deck of Warlords and majority of them being 4 or less, you get to play cards for free, and in some cases that combos you really well. You have the Perona to essentially stack your deck, which is super great. You have your Boa, which is solid. You have your other Doflamingo character to search the top 3 as well. really, this is just a really nice deck. Also, that Mihawk that go ahead and puts a 7 or less to the bottom of the deck on play, I can see why this won for sure, and definitely congratulations. Now we're touching into purple, and it was really hard to try to find purple that doesn't have film as far as early game winning contestants, because in Japan, of course, they were given the film deck off rip, so they already had the capability to build with film cards like Douglas Bullet and the Uda blocker and stuff like that. So this is one of those more earlier game states where someone won without using film consistency. I think the 2 Onigashima is really good as far as this blue-purple Kaido. 2 Onigashima is just perfect in this build, because if you don't know, Kaido blue-purple's ability is going to be, when given a Don, during your turn, when an opponent's character is KO'd, you add a Don from your deck, set it as active. So you can potentially have 2 extra Don every single turn, and I've personally played this in the beginning when OP-01 was just coming out with proxies, and I found it super fun, especially in a turn 2 or 3, you having already 6 to 8 Don possibly. This is really good as far as ramp up potential. Now the other blue-purple of OP-01, you're going to see Crocodile, and when given a Don, after you activate an event, you may draw a card if you have 4 or less in your hand and haven't drawn a card using the leader during this turn. Why it specifically says that, I don't really know, but at the end of the day, essentially what you're going to do is have a lot of events in this deck, more so that you can draw cards, and I mean, hey, I don't see why not. Now, yes, in this deck list, unfortunately, you see the 2 film purple cards that is next to Queen. Now, obviously, you don't have to use those 2, and you can definitely switch it out, and fingers crossed we get that film deck a lot sooner rather than later. Man, as you can see, this is really good. Obviously, you have the 9-cost Kaido, the 9-cost Mihawk. Purple and blue as just a combo in general is just really good, because you have return capabilities and destruction capabilities. Now, for as far as King is concerned, it was a little more difficult to find a King profile, at least through my sources. But this is a King profile that won in the Pirate Battle placement, winning in first place in Japan. So obviously there was a really good deck, especially with Japan being such a high competitive playing field. And if you don't know King's ability, if you have 10 Don cards on your field, all your opponent's characters have minus 1k. So why is that really good? Because you can use Onigashima in this build and ramp up to 10 really quickly, minusing all your opponent's characters while you still have your capabilities of full board. If you think King is just super awesome and is capable of winning for sure, then bam, there you go. Now we're going to go into the basic leaders and the starter decks, because, you know, yeah, they're still capable of winning just as much too. And as you can see, this is almost damn near just the out-the-box starter deck, with just switching out a couple cards like the Ultima and the promo Luffy, which honestly you can sub that out for anything else. That just goes to show you, in a championship setting, someone used a starter deck and was still able to essentially get there. Now we're going to go into the purple leader, and yes, purple actually is capable of winning just as much in OP-01 as anybody else, like you've already seen. And this is actually in the flagship battle tournament in Thailand. And if you notice, the contenders that were 2nd and 3rd and 4th place are other good decks for sure, like Red Zoro, which is highly capable of getting a rush win, and 2 Green Kids, which a lot of people are saying is going to be a top contender within OP-01, and I agree, yes, so much so, but I'll get more into that into the tier list. This goes to show that in a tournament setting, you can win with anything. And with that being said, let's go ahead and touch on another build, and that is going to be Crocodile, being the starter deck leader. This is a Thailand top 8 championship, and out of 223 players, someone came out on top with a starter deck Crocodile. And if you look at the build, majority of this is straight out the starter deck, with the exception of Caesar Clown, which is just the on play a smiley from your deck and then shuffle your deck, which is that other character that you see right next to him, which that has the ability of, when given a Don on your turn, it gains 1,000 for each card in your hand, which is pretty cool of a tech card for sure. You may not see it as much, but I mean, I think it was definitely interesting for them to play that in a tournament of 223 other players. And then the only other card really outside of that is going to be your Mr. 2 Bond Clay. and he has the ability of when attacking, when given a dawn, you search the top 5 to add one event card with Bork Works in its name, and then add to your hand and place it remaining at the bottom of your deck. So that goes to show you, especially in a tournament with 223 players, again, I'll keep reiterating this, it is highly capable of winning for sure. And then finally, we're going to go ahead and get into this Kid. Yes, Kid is a very highly capable contender. If you can see this and definitely win in any setting, like I said, any deck that I've discussed thus far and all of these leaders have the capabilities of winning. And with all of that being said, I just wanted to go ahead and thank my source as far as finding all of these deck lists, and I'm going to put that Discord group in the description down below. If you haven't joined the group, or if you haven't seen that group, that is the Kurita Coliseum group. They are really, really good as far as keeping up to date on deck lists in all sets that have come out, whether it's OP-01, OP-02, and even updating some of the sort. They're really, really good as far as having all of these. So by all means, with all that being said, let's go ahead and get into my personal thoughts on a tier list. Welcome back, everybody, and as you can see, we have now a beautiful display that is a lot better than just looking at a slideshow for damn one. But we're getting there slowly, day by day for sure. But let's go ahead and get to that tier list and what I think is just my personal thoughts and opinions. And like I said, and I'll keep saying over and over and over again, my thoughts is not the end all say all, and in no way, shape, or form am I saying that. And people might not agree with some of my thoughts on what's going to be S tier, tier 1, so on and so forth. But without further ado, let's go ahead and start with Zoro. Now, where do I think Zoro is going to be? Personally, I would say that Zoro may be tier 1. And I say that because he's not completely perfect and completely consistent. It is a dual-edged sword, and that's what I feel with a lot of red decks are, because he's going to be putting out a lot of bodies on board, trying to swing so much so. But after a while, they kind of stop having the gas to keep going over and over again. So it kind of really hurts them more, if anything, because then they're just really defenseless and more offensive. But I do say it's tier 1 because it can continue to consistently perform with high value for sure. Now, going into the next character, Law, I'm going to say nope. I can't even lie. No, I'm definitely putting him at S tier. I put him at S tier because, not just because he's my fan favorite for sure, and not because I just have a bias with him, but I put him at S tier because if you can perform really, really well with this, it is super, super dangerous and really easy to spam board and really easy to pop off. And just the hand advantage as far as like having searchers, just the hand advantage of having searchers and then switching out those searchers, and it's so much combo potential, and it is very hard to stop them from doing what they want to do outside of their, I can just make sure you don't have 5 on board. They're going to have it regardless one way or another, and when they do, it's just going to be them having fun and you just not enjoying the fact that you can't get a life off of them because they have so many counters in hand. But that's just my view. I do say yes, it can be very fragile just as much as any of these decks, but that's just my view on that. Red Green Luffy, believe it or not, I'm going to say it is tier 2 because yes, it can be very much so more consistent with Bonnie and Nami as far as Supernovas and Straw Hats, but as far as its playability and what I've seen with people playing, people would much rather pick Law over Luffy just because of that switch out combo potential rather than just what Luffy has to offer. And I mean, sorry, don't get me wrong, I can put all of these on S tier and I can put all of these on just the wait for it and so on and so forth, but that's just my view on him for sure. Now Oden, it hurts me, but I'm gonna say Oden, you have to wait for it. And I say that because with looking into set 2 is going to have a lot more cards in a stage to make Oden more consistent for sure. And I feel like if you try to use him now, you just have to be a really great pilot at it. And I've played a lot of people who can be, and I've played more so people who aren't. And I just think that right now it's going to lean more heavy towards it. Just wait for him. Just really, really wait for him. And I know it hurts a lot of people because they want to play Yamato and everything like that, and Momonosuke, but you just wait. Trust me. Just wait. Doflamingo. Yeah, that's not even a question. I'm putting him S tier. And I say that because the capability to spam board and your opponent not being able to counter it in any way, shape, or form, it's just more so whenever I do get this going, you just have to pay for it. That's really good. To play free bodies is definitely a given, and that will definitely keep it to tier 1 or above, and just the capabilities that it has. And then going into set 2, it'll have even more capabilities. I'm definitely going to put out there right now that Doflamingo is going to be a problem for a lot of people for sure. Now going into the blue purple Kaido, I would definitely put this at like tier 2, maybe tier 1. It's like right there in the middle if I could put it in the middle, but for now I'm gonna put it at tier 2 because yes, it has very much high rampage ability, and it is very much so easier to get up there as far as having more Dawn in play, because you just have to KO your opponent's cards, which, I mean, yeah, you're going to want to do that sometimes, but it makes it more so situational, because in a lot of instances you may not want to KO your opponent's character, so then that brings down the line of like, okay, do I want the Dawn or do I want to go for life? And that's just, that makes it more very situational for my opinion. And with that, I just put that a high tier 2, high like low tier 1 type status. And I know people are gonna hate me for it because I mean it has blue and purple, and like I said earlier, it's a really deadly combo. But for right now, especially with set 2 having a lot more purple, you know, assistance here and there in the stage that's not just Onigashima, I would put that at tier 2. And then when set 2 comes out, I'm putting that up there with tier 1 because, or just S rank, because I love purple myself personally, but I just know it can have so much more potential right now. And honestly, that's kind of actually how I'm going to feel about Crocodile as well. I would definitely put Crocodile behind Kaido because Kaido is just more of a good ability. And with the blue purple Croc, I mean, you're heavy bent on using events, and that's just really not that's not really good in my eyes. Yeah, you're using a lot of events, but I mean, that just goes down to now you having to wait for your opponent to do something rather than you doing something yourself. So you're more on the defensive, and I think that in a game state where you have, for example, Zoro and Luffy and Kid with double attacks and stuff like that, and just pushing for high damage, that you're not going to always have the answers in hand that will deal with it. And with that, I'd probably put this lower than Luffy, matter of fact, and it's not really great right now for right now. King, I'm sorry, it's just a note. And now I know a lot of people are gonna hate me for that. Don't get me wrong, purple is nice. Yes, he can use Onigashima. Yes, his ability is cool, but realistically, in any purple deck, you're not gonna have 10 Dawn always, so his ability is kind of not really relevant as much. So in my eyes, it just makes him like more so a purple vanilla, and with that, I wouldn't personally play him myself. Now, don't get me wrong, there's capabilities to win with him, but me myself, I'm just not going to, frankly. Uda, I would definitely say with Uda, waifu, actual consistency, I would say honestly Uda can definitely be up there for a budget option for damn sure, with a tier 2, maybe tier 1, and actually no, I'm gonna say tier 1. I say that because I think it has a lot more usefulness with the rest of the film cards that came out with it, but I put it at tier 1 as far as budget options are concerned, because it does have the capability to just spam a whole lot of low cost characters and just keep swinging constantly with it. I think it's very good, and it's very slept on, and it's the simplest way to win, I guess, as far as like I don't have to go full Doflamingo combo stacking deck to know what I got. I don't gotta go law and try to have 5 on board. I don't have to have like the mind of a god to play Oden right now. No, just put low cost characters and stack and swing. Swing. Can't really beat that, honestly. So I think it's very slept on, and I've definitely won personally myself with Uda just doing that, just playing low cost and swinging and winning. And I mean, that kind of goes to say that with that, I say Luffy is highly capable of being tier 1, but out of all of the other possibilities of cards to play right now and just the options for them all, I'm not gonna lie, I'm saying nope to Luffy. It has the least amount of counters as far as what you can do with Straw Hats. And just frankly, I mean, if you're gonna go Luffy and you want to go with the Straw Hat route, just go with red, green. You have way more cards in green that will definitely help as far as your Supernova and Straw Hat Zoro and Luffy, Supernova and Straw Hat. Like, you have way more options to go red, green, Luffy than just going plain red, Luffy. And in my opinion, I'd say no. Flat out, just no. Kid, as much as when I was on Moonman's podcast and I said that he's not S tier, realistically, I know he is a S tier as far as Kid is concerned. I'm gonna put him on the lowest of that though, because I know that, especially with playing in the States compared to overseas, everybody in the States likes to take what was played overseas and counter that immediately. So that's why in the deck limited battles you saw a lot of blue and a lot of purple. But when it was first released in Japan, it was like greens majority across the board, and for a high amount of time it was greens within like 25-35% of winnings as far as participants and everything along the lines. But people now are picking that up way more sooner than later, so I think everybody's going to be playing the anti-Kid route. But I still have to give his credit where it's due. His ability as a leader is really great, and he can perform alone, not even including the support that you can put with green to make this super more high tier as a consistency, and just capabilities of protecting himself and putting on the board something that's just really phenomenal and hard to deal with. And that 8-drop Kid with him, you can't deny him of his tier, so I had to put him at S tier for sure. Now going to Crocodile, it would hurt to say that he's a tier 2, and I think with blue coming out more predominantly in set 2, it's kind of the same thing with Crocodile and, you know, as Luffy. It's kind of the same thing with, you know, Luffy and why I put him as a nope status compared to just running the dual color. I think it's going to be the same thing. Honestly, I have to say nope to him because, yes, he was very good as far as in deck limited battles because you were limited to such a small pool of cards that you can use his ability to get rid of that last minute blocker and just go with it. But once they get into like constructed, it's no one's using that ability. And it's kind of the same thing with King, where it's just like in that situation where you're playing blue and stuff like that, it's highly unlikely you're going to have a person that spams board unless you're going against like a Law or a low cost playing Uda. Like, very situational, and just in my opinion, because of that, no, just don't go for the blue plain Crocodile. Just go for a higher dual color tiered. I think it's just better, and you have way more options in your pools, and I like to go for the more broad than simplistic route in some cases. Don't get me wrong, I'll still play low cost vanilla Uda and hit. And finally with Kaido, believe it or not, out of D4, I would definitely put Kaido up there as far as a tier 1. And I say that because Kaido, as far as his ability, is very still ruthless to take away your life, even if you have a full beautiful board. And that within turn makes it very much something that's just problematic. When you're at 2 life and you're going against this Kaido, it's just going to be an issue automatically, because if they have a high cost character, and you have nothing to defend it, it's basically game state right there. They're going to drop as much down as they can on that character, swing with that character, use Kaido's ability, take away your other last life, and then just go for a swing right there. And it can become a very forced game state, and that's what makes Kaido as a leader by himself very good. And that's why I think personally it's no longer situational in comparison to the blue-purple Kaido, where in that case you have to KO something to gain something. In this case, it's like I can do it when I want to, and that's why I think that Kaido as a leader and just a plain mono purple is highly better than just a hybrid blurple Kaido. So with that, what is your thoughts on the overall deck list that I went over, and just a brief explanation of some of those, and how do you feel like the OP-01 meta is going to be? I personally think it's going to be very interesting to see just how accurate I am or just how inaccurate I'm going to be for sure. I think a lot of people it can go either way, and that's the great thing about this game. It's very much on a solid plateau as far as balancing between decks as of right now and just what's capable within any of these decks. Like I said, all these deck lists were stuff that have won and competed in, like for example, you played with a blue plain croc and won out of 233 other contestants. That's ridiculous. I still think that, that his ability is not that great. That's why he's lower on my tier. It just goes to show that really anything is possible, and that kind of goes into where I want to push out so much, so that you can build anything. You can really build anything and perform at a high tier capability as far as anybody else, no matter if you're going with the budget options or you just max rarity everything and just splurge all your money. And that's what is so great about this game. Now with that, play what you love. And don't copy and paste everything that was shown and put it in your deck and just think that you're going to win. No, play with what you're comfortable with. Play with what you think is the greatest thing that you want to put out there. You can definitely do some wacky combos. You can be the meme deck. You can be whatever you want to be and do just great. A great future Pirate King once said, if you don't take risks, you can't create a future. So why not do that? Create your future. Get that observation hockey and get it going. On that note, stay motivated. Know that the One Piece is real. And know that you got love over here. Peace. Oh, wait. Stay on the lookout for a video on every single leader in a more full detail. Stay on the lookout for the weekly updates that I put out on Wednesday as far as news that you should know and just things that are really cool. And also stay on the lookout for a trailer for a new series that I have coming out very, very soon. Also, I'm definitely going to be opening some cases when OP-01 releases, so stay on the lookout for that Twitch when I do drop that for sure. Now for real this time. Peace.